Some breaking news. If you've just tuned in, Lee Anderson has been suspended from the Tory party after his refusal to apologise for his comments. A spokesperson for the Chief Whip said, following his refusal to apologise for comments made yesterday, the Chief Whip has suspended the Conservative Whip from Lee Anderson MP. Lee Anderson said, following a call with the Chief Whip, I understand the difficult position that I've put both he and the Prime Minister in with regard to my comments. I fully accept that they had no option but to suspend the whip in these circumstances. However, I will continue to support the government's efforts to call out extremism in all its forms, be that anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. Well, joining me to discuss is GB News presenter Benjamin Butterworth. Benjamin, OK, well, I mean, what do you make of this? What are your thoughts?
I mean, the first thing, it's quite the fall from grace for Lee Anderson, who only a couple of weeks ago was vice-chair of the Conservative Party. And so I think, you know, that statement that you just read out very much looks like something that would have been written by Conservative Party officials for him to say to try and have a way back. I think it's quite shocking that, given that his comments, I think, are widely seen as inappropriate. Sajid Javid, the Muslim former Conservative Health Secretary, said that much. You know, there are many Muslims who have said it. Baroness Saeeda Warsi, the former Cabinet Minister, the first Muslim to serve in Cabinet, that, you know, saying that the Muslim Mayor of London, whose politics are moderate, even if you disagree with them, is being controlled by Islamists, was completely inappropriate.
But that's his view. I mean, we're all entitled to an opinion. We suffer the consequences if we say something people don't like. But a lot of people might share that view.
Well, I think some people will share the view, but I think it's a view that has problems of racism entwined in it.
Why? Because Islam isn't a race, it's a religion, so where is it racist?
But it's racist because you're talking about a group of people who is being tied to Sadiq Khan, despite the fact that there is absolutely no indication in his politics at any point that he buys into extreme Islam. In fact, he has quite regularly been on the receiving end of a huge amount of abuse from people who buy into that version of Islam. He had a fatwa put on his life when he voted for same-sex marriage as a Member of Parliament. Those are not his politics at all. And so to try and associate him only because he's a Muslim... But
to call it racist is Islamophobic isn't racist. Islam is a religion. It's a belief structure. In some countries, it's a theocratic political regime in some countries. So, for example, Saudi Arabia. So how is that racist? Because you know, maybe Lee's words could be interpreted and taken out of turn. He could apologise for the way it came across, but I don't think that that's racist. I'm just questioning the notion that it's racist. Racist is when I'm called the N-word or something like that because I'm black, and that's a different... We are one race, the human race, but we see that as a different race. How is... I can't tell if you're black, white, green, whether you support Islam or not.
Well, I mean, look, maybe Islamophobic is a better word, a more precise word to explain it.
But then surely Lee could complain at being called racist. You know what I mean? If we're going to chuck out slurs to people for things they've done, then we can at least be accurate about it.
But I don't think it's a slur. I think it's accurate to say...
What, calling him racist?
That I think Islamophobia is a form of racism.
But it's not.
But I think that might be a little pedantry. The fact is that he was trying to say this because he's a Muslim. He was trying to say that he is in hock to all these people with extreme views, and that is a completely unreasonable view. That if we swapped it to say that about Jews, you'd know it was unacceptable.
No, hold on, though. But why is it, then, that the pro-Palestinian protesters, who many have been chanting from the river to the sea, which is anti-Semitic, the Jewish people have said that, in fact, only the other day, that was projected onto Big Ben. How is it that Sadiq Khan did not step in and do something about that? And there are lots of things. I mean, that was big, it was public. It's not like a little thing. Why were the police just standing by doing nothing? It's Sadiq Khan's London. Why is he not stepping up?
But I think the idea that the Mayor of London would be stood outside Parliament to make those decisions on the spot is ridiculous.
Well, he's in charge of the police. He deals with the Metropolitan Police. Why could he not?
The police are functionally independent, and that's really important. Now, there have been loads of examples of anti-Semitism, and on the marches for Gaza, there have been lots of examples of anti-Semitism. That's a massive problem.
Yes, it is.
It's as much the problem for the Home Secretary as it is for the Mayor of London. And I think it should tell us something that it is only targeted to Sadiq Khan.
But isn't that what...
And the Jewish community have been largely positive about Sadiq Khan. You know, he's done lots of meetings.
I'm not so sure they have been. I think that's a statement that you can say, but I don't think you could back that up. You're saying that, but on what evidence are you saying that the Jewish people are happy with Sadiq Khan, who has let pro-Palestinian protests go on week in, week out, where they're chanting from the river to the sea, jihad, and all the other things, in fact, even trying to justify jihad?
Indeed, and those things are unacceptable. I'm thinking of, there was an editor of the Jewish News who was writing about how he thought Sadiq Khan had been unreasonably treated and that he'd stood up for for them. So there's an example.
When did he... Well, I have not...
It was a couple of days ago. I'll send it to you after.
Is that the clip where he said anti-Semitism and then it was a Freudian slip?
But look, the fact is that, you know, the Home Secretary is as much responsible for those things. I just think that if you were to say this about another racial group, another religious group, you would know that it is unacceptable. It's only because he is a Muslim that he is facing this kind of abuse. And actually, you know, the issue here is Lee Anderson.
You say
Lee
that,
Anderson
but what about
expressing racism?
No, I think this is more than just that. I think this is more about Sadiq Khan's record in London. Because really, let's be honest, ULEZ and all the other things that have gone on, under Sadiq Khan, he's got the worst record for knife crime, all the things he's spent money on silly, frivolous things just to appease certain factions of London. And he doesn't really represent real Londoners. They're all saying that. Why?
Well, I mean...
Lee Anderson is pointing out another one of his failings, surely.
You know, Sadiq Khan has been elected twice, and he's won more votes than any politician in British history because he's directly elected. And he's done very well in both those elections, and he's on course to be re-elected by quite a large margin in May of this year. But that is reasonable discussion about how democracy works and who gets elected. All of those points you raised are valid criticisms that if Lee Anderson had wanted to put forward, I'm sure lots of other Conservatives and a few million Londoners would have nodded along. But to start saying that the Muslim Mayor of London is in the pocket of Islamic extremists is extremely problematic. And I'd say one other point, which is that even if you care about that extremism, as it's fine to do so, to say that they've got powerful politicians like the Mayor of London, that they are controlling them, that is dangerous because that empowers those Islamists.
Yes, but
it tells them that their
that's all very
tactics are
well,
working.
but Sadiq Khan has said similar things. So, for example, with ULEZ, he said it's all because of the far right, and he claimed it was the far right who were controlling the narrative, which is why people were protesting. You know, if you're going to step into the arena and speak in that way and people speak back to you in the same language, I just think that if you've heard some of the things that Sadiq Khan has said, which have actually personally offended me when I've listened to them, because I'm supposedly part of the far right, according to some of the things he's supposedly accusing people who've behaved in a certain way of being. Why is it that he's OK to call people far right, which would, in a sense, be a racist slur if we're going that way? If, you know, why is it OK for Sadiq Khan to do it?
Of course, the far right might overwhelmingly be white, but it doesn't have...
Not necessarily. I've been called far right. It's people who voted, who don't want ULEZ. He called far right.
But that's fine in a political discussion. What's
not really.
Not fine
he was in a speech
is to
saying
say that you're in the pocket of a racial group or of extremists. And I think...
But the far right are extremists.
Let's take a fact.
He's a hypocrite. Sadiq Khan is a hypocrite because he has said things that would be offensive to people like me, for example, claiming that people who wanted ULEZ are far right. There's a long speech where he laid in a load of insults to people, and I just find that OK, fair criticism if you felt that Lee spoke in a way that may have incited some sort of, you know, narrative that wasn't friendly. But Sadiq Khan's a hypocrite.
But that's fine to say. I don't accept it at all. I think Sadiq, there clearly was a problem with far-right people trying to take down those ULEZ cameras.
But why are they far-right?
Criminal damage.
What, they're not.
And also,
why are they
he was
far-right?
People.
These are people who...
They were committing criminal acts when they were damaging
They were committing
those
criminal
boxes.
acts. I'm not saying that's acceptable. But why are they far-right? Because that is almost like a racist kind of slur. You're saying that they're acting in a racist manner. Also calling...
You might want to lay out the far-right as victims, but I think they're...
No, I'm not laying them out as victims. I'm saying that the label that he's given them is not right. Just like calling... He claimed Lee is being racist, whereas there's no racism there.
Because they're trying to cast the worst of a group as his responsibility. And, you know, if people were to talk about black people, for the black people that have committed terrible crimes and cast that onto you, that would be an example of racism.
Listen, I get it all the time.
That.
No, I get these sort of things all the time. But I'm saying, my point is this, that Sadiq Khan is doing something similar anyway. So I just find it
I'm afraid Sadiq Khan is on the receiving end of an enormous amount of far-right hate. This is the politician in Britain that has the most serious threats, more than any of the people in the cabinet. And that is extraordinary. That's why he has so much security, because he gets it from the far right and also from Islamic extremists. He gets it from both sides in incredible numbers. And I think Sadiq Khan is standing up to that, and the Tory party should stand up to that too.